First thing we're going to do is look at the modern history notification. So, it opens up, make it a bit bigger. This is exactly what I'll be looking at when you're reading your speech and presenting to me. This is what I'll be looking at. Okay? Alright. So we've got content, evidence of research. Okay, I was a bit wrong. I did say it was half marks, but it's actually a little bit more. It's 15 marks for that. Okay, so with that one, you've got to make a clear judgment. That should be the first thing you do, yeah? In regards to that statement and the question, make a clear judgment. Next thing, you got to interpret the statement and question correctly. Okay, great thing about history, there's no thing as objective fact. It's how you argue your case. Alright, just be confident with the way you've interpreted it. Next one is supporting judgment with details of key events and controversies. Okay. Next one, providing accurate, relevant historical knowledge. Next one is having sustained, logical, cohesive argument, so making sure your judgment stays the same. Following that, appropriate historical terms and concepts, and a variety of good quality sources or historians, especially referred to in your speech. Okay, so Sereni supports this argument when she suggests. Okay, Overy asserts. Go on, okay? Even if you've watched a documentary, referring to that documentary is a source. Okay? Then if you come down to communication skills, so it's 10 marks, but still. So first you have MENA, so voice clarity. How clear is your speech when you're talking? Volume. You don't want to scream at them, but you don't want to be too quiet. I just say speak normally, as if you're speaking to your friends. Speed. What's my suggestion from interviews on Tuesday? Christian, Chloe, Francis, what's my suggestion? In regards to speed of your speech, what's the best thing to do there when you're talking?
Not too quick and not too
Yeah. Okay. You're better off slowing it down rather than being too quick. Okay, but you don't want to be too slow. Also, tone variations. What that means is to do well, you don't want to talk in one monotone voice. Okay, so if you want to emphasize a point, you can actually pick up your voice a little bit. All right, change that tone. Next big one, guys, is eye contact versus reading of speech, and this is where a lot of people lose marks. All right, you still can read your speech, but you really want to be predominantly trying to engage the audience. And as I said, you don't actually have to look directly at the person you're talking, but you could look at the corner, the back wall, the corner. When I'm at the back marking, I can't tell the difference. Okay? And gestures. Facial, hand gestures, body language, and personal grooming. So one, just full school uniform. Okay, make sure you look presentable. Facial just means that don't look like you're going to a funeral. Okay? Hand gestures, I suggest. So you can point to the board and say, as you can see on the board. Body language, same thing. What was my suggestion? Did I tell you guys? What did I say about body language? Best way to make sure that you're open to the audience. When you see people, you don't remember? When you see people get up front, they'll get really nervous, they get their speech, and they instantly go to speech, and they go like that, okay? I know it sounds weird, but if you just lift your shoulders up and roll them back, you're already standing up straight, okay? Try that, okay? Guys, same thing as well. Even this is part of communication, and this comes down to the way you write it. Your speech is structured, so make sure it has a flow. Okay, your wording and grammar is good, so it's a sophisticated language, but you also speak it well. Appropriate language, the length is good, and presentation is engaging. Yeah, let's try and mix up a little bit. Now, use of ICT support. So you have appropriate, relevant quality images. So not just random stuff, but stuff that relates to your speech. Yeah. Not too much text on screen. At most, guys, just a dot point or two highlighting the main points. And also, images, slides are directly referred to in your speech. So it's not a decoration, you're using it to support your speech, yeah? Last year when I was marking this, a lot of students, okay, got down right down here, which is like 1 or 2. Just because they had their presentation and they didn't look at it once. They kept going, clicking it, and they just kept talking, but they never said to the class. Like, as you can see from this quote I've got on the board here. As you can see, like you don't have to make it. You still want to be formal, but you don't have to be like As you can see in image 2, you can say as you can see the image I've put on the board. Like you can be a bit more casual there. So here's an example. So you could be talking about, okay, again, this is just an example, I'm just going off the top of my head. But you could be saying that history is about winners. That statement is extremely accurate in regards to Albert Speer, because you believe winning is about being successful. Okay, yeah? And then you're going to start talking about how all these different elements of Albert Speer's life highlight how he's successful and doesn't want to work, which is really annoying. Oh, great, internet's off. Anyway, so pretend it's a full screen, right? So then you start talking about one example of Albert Speer's success is through his, how are you, Trevor? Is through, yeah, good mate. Is through his architectural work. Okay, more specifically, his work within Germania, even though it was never built, his model is seen as an incredible work of architecture still to today. As you can see in the image on the board here, Albert Speer is with Hitler, showing him another piece of the plan for the new Berlin. And then you can sort of say, it was seen as a success because of these reasons. And you go further on. Okay? You can even refer back to it and say, Albert Speer was so successful in this because he was, commissioned with more work from this, from Hitler. That's right, Leanna. Then, another idea is, you don't have to use this quote, this is just one I found is online, okay? It's actually a great quote. So this is Albert Speer trying to say, who's he referring to here? Hitler, okay? So he's also trying to say that he was kind of taken along for a ride. He was attracted to Hitler, okay, for his, leadership, charisma, but he didn't realize, one seldom recognizes the devil when he's putting his hand on your shoulder. Okay, so this is off the top of my head. I'm just giving more ideas for Trevor and Leanna when you just came in about ways to present to the class, okay? So then you could go and, let's say you're having the argument that Albert Speer was a winner because he manipulated the system and he ended up coming out on top. He survived, right? And therefore was accurate. This is off the top of my head. You then go into the idea that in Albert Speer's own book, Life Inside the Third Reich, he was able to manipulate history, okay, to make himself seem more innocent, okay, or actually, the good Nazi, all right? This is most evident through Albert Speer's quote here on the board that you can see. One seldom recognizes the devil when he's putting his hand on your shoulder. This is a direct quote from his book, Life Inside the Third Reich, and it really highlights how Albert Speer is trying to shift his blame onto Hitler, portraying him as the devil. See, I'm referring to the board, yeah? And you still want to be formal, but you don't have to make it so formal that you're like, you're standing here and you're sort of just one spot. Think of it as more of like a seminar. You move around the room, point to the board, okay? Look around. And also, one big thing I recommend, because it's 6 to 10 minutes, right? You got a bit of time. Because you've got the PowerPoint here, use it as such a good way to catch your breath. So let's say you go from this slide and go to this one. Then you start talking and then you point to the board, chat about this for a little bit, and then go and then keep talking and then kind of just take 1 second, 2 seconds, and then change the slide. And then you've got just that little bit of breath back, yeah? You don't have to kind of just rush into things. You've got time on your hands. One thing before, I didn't have time to do it. One thing you could also do, and I don't recommend anything more than this, is having maybe 1 or 2 dot points of information if you want to, but I mean short and snappy, yeah? So like maybe if you just wanted to talk about, you're talking about success, and you talked about architecture, you could then just say in dot points, there's 3 dot points, these 3 main prominent things, yeah? And then just so they know they're there, make them big and stand out, look nice, and then you talk about it in your speech. Does that sound alright? Any questions? No? Well, for Leanna, Trevor, you came a little bit late, but I was just going over the same things I told most people, nearly everyone at the interviews. You've really got to focus on, okay, presentation, but also the content. But we just quickly looked at the notice. I'll just go through it again. I think it'll be beneficial for everyone still. So if you look at the criteria you're getting, I'll be looking at this when I'm watching you, okay? Firstly, okay, I was wrong, okay? It's not half and half. It's 15 marks and 10 marks. But anyway, when you look at it, guys, this is the first part of the criteria I'm going to be marking. first thing I'm looking for is a clear judgment. So therefore, at the start of your speech, what should you be doing? Making a clear judgment. That's it, okay? Because if you do that, make a clear judgment at the start, I'm already like this, tick, at the top. Okay? And you're already starting off well. If your judgment is not clear at the start, you're already starting down here. Okay? Make it good from the start. Again, interpret the statement. So with your judgment, interpret what the statement means to you. What does history about winners mean? Next thing, supports judgment with details of key events and controversies. So that's just more the content you're going to talk about. Your historical knowledge is accurate and relevant. Your argument is sustained. What I mean by that is your judgment stays the same, yeah? All the time. You have historical terms and concepts used. Okay? And a big one, a variety of quality sources and historians are specifically referred to in your speech. Just because you may have used them, you actually want to refer to them. You know, as Gita Serini suggests, you know, as Overy asserts. Even if you watch a documentary, if you refer to that documentary in just supporting your argument, that is a source. Yeah, doesn't always have to be a historian. Okay, so that. Because also, when you're thinking about controversy around Albert Speer, towards after, actually, it's even after he died, but towards later, what were some of the sources that kind of identified that he actually did know about the extermination of the Jews?
The Jewish African Association?
Yeah. So it was so exactly right. He told them. So they're saying that he told them. There was another one though, a European lady. Does anyone remember that one?
Was that the one with the letter?
A letter. Okay. They're not historians, but they are still sources that are definitely important if you're arguing that case. Okay. Now this is communication. I'll just go very quickly. Voice clarity. So just be clear when you speak. Yeah, very clear. Volume. Don't be too loud. Don't scream, but don't be too soft. Just so speak normally. Speed. I prefer you go slower than faster. Yeah. Don't go too slow, but definitely control that pace. Tone variations. Don't keep one tone, monotone. Okay. If you're trying to emphasize a good point, I know I'm tone deaf anyway, so I can. Okay, so Leanna, don't go on about. I would not even be able to hit a different note. Okay, but what I mean though is that if you're going to emphasize a certain point, just change your, the way you're talking just a tiny bit, because you can emphasize certain importance. Yeah, because it is bad when you get up and you try, because this comes down to engagement. If you're getting up and you're just like, Albert Speer was really important because and then just go like that the whole time. Because the thing is though, instantly, as soon as that monotone starts happening, you blank out, okay? Next one. Eye contact versus reading a speech. Okay, I talked to all of you about this at the interviews, alright? So, main thing is, if you slow yourself down, you can still read your speech, but you can still maintain eye contact at different points, yeah? I'd highly recommend try and focus more on engagement versus reading, but I do understand that it is a bit of a nice safety net to have with the reading there. Okay, just try and mix it up a little bit. Next one goes gestures. So facial, don't look like you're going to a funeral. Okay, look like you actually want to be up the front of the room. Hand gestures, point to the board. Okay, if you really want, you can give a sandwich to the crowd. What I mean by that is, have you ever seen anyone talk? Miss McLaughlin does it pretty well, and she goes like this. Sometimes they use their hands a little bit. You've ever seen that? It's called giving a sandwich. Okay, so so you think about that. But the easiest way to do it with if you want to tick off hand gestures, use your hand and just point to the board. Yeah, okay. But if you want to really get into your speech, you can use your hands a bit more. Okay. Body language. Okay. Stand up, lift your shoulders, roll them back. You're standing up straight. Okay. I need to learn to do that. But the other is, as soon as you read and punch your shoulders over, look down, you're closing yourself off. Whereas your shoulders out, you're open to the class. Yeah. And just be full school uniform. Just be dressed well. So the method, guys, same thing. You should know that. But this one here is important. The bottom one. And this is what I've gone over before. Appropriate, relevant quality images. So we just don't want nice images that are good in the background. I want images that are relevant to what you are specifically saying. Yeah. Not too much. So no, I don't want death by PowerPoint. I want your text on screen to be clearly legible, readable. So if you do have dot points, very small ones, make them big and stand out. And lastly, images or slides are directly referred to in your speech. Last year, as I said to some students here before, a lot of students I marked got this one here, write down at 1. This one, because they had a PowerPoint and the entire speech they just spoke and they didn't even refer to what was on the screen once. Okay? You need to. The point of it being there, okay, is it's meant to add to your argument. Okay? Images you're using are sources. Yeah? So they're also evidence. That sound alright? Okay. Any questions? Now's the time to ask. Yes, Lana.
So we don't need to give a copy of what we're going to be saying to you.
What's going to happen with the thing is, so Tuesday, it's Tuesday, isn't it? Yes, Tuesday. Tuesday morning, you're going to get the assessment box. You drop your hand in there, and then at period 4, we're all going to come here, and I'll get your presentation. I'll get on USB, put it all onto my computer, and then we're good to go. Yeah. Okay. All right.